Well, that is the original house that was bought by my grandfather. When he bought this land, that house was standing there. And I was born in that house in 1940. And spent many years, right until about 1980, over here. Then we moved out because I was banned and house arrested. So this is Sarvodaya, and this is where Gandhi ji lived, and my grandmother. We used to come here in the evenings and say prayers and so on. And even now, sometimes we come and we do our prayers here. My grandfather usually slept over here. They all slept on the floor. Used to be mattresses. We just placed them on the floor, and this is where we used to sleep. In India, at his ashram, which was Sevagram Ashram, and that's where we stayed for a while. And after that, I met him again in India. My mom used to tell us every evening bedtime stories, and it was always about my grandfather. I have some very beautiful memories, yes. I sat on his lap many times, and he told me stories, and sometimes even fed me food. So, yes, they were beautiful memories of spending time with him. I was very, very happy, and I think he was happy. He called me and hugged me, and it was really nice to see a grandfather, because he was my only grandfather. I didn't have another grandfather. This is when I was in India at the Sevagram Ashram. This is the ashram that Gandhiji built in India. And that's me, and that's my grandfather. This is Gandhiji here, and his wife Kasturba. This is a photograph of my family. My father, that's my father. And that's my mother. And I got married in 1961. That's my former husband. And my eldest son there. This is my second son who was assassinated. These two, this is my older daughter, and these two are twins.
Okay, bye. Have fun. Oh, you're going for supper?
Yeah.
Enjoy.
I hope so.
Yeah.
You know what they cook for vegetarians.
Yeah.
No other university on the planet can testify to this. We have a Gandhi for a chancellor. Now that is something, isn't it? And apart from that, the patron of the conference and our Chancellor of the Durban University of Technology, Ms. Ela Gandhi. Ela.
There was a clear view that while South Africa is emerging from the devastating effects of apartheid policies, the basic deprivations that we see in South Africa are not at all dissimilar to those suffered by other countries.
This is the room in which the kids and I live for the moment. That's my late brother Kush. This is our shrine. We keep all our murtis of our gods here. As you can see, we generally pray to Ganesha, so we keep that as the dominant murti. Yeah, we temporarily, as we live with my mom, live in this room. It's our home. Our upbringing was Gandhian in many, many ways, to the extent that growing up at Phoenix Settlement, we were born at Phoenix Settlement, and growing up with my mom and my dad and my grandmother, everything we learned from the perspective of why we live at Phoenix, the meaning of Phoenix Settlement as a place of teaching Satyagraha, of people living a self-reliant life. Mom at Phoenix Settlement worked very much with the local community and with the local families. By training, Mommy is a social worker. And she was working while we lived at Phoenix for the Durban Indian Child Welfare Society at the time. But she was also very strongly involved in the activist movement. She and my dad had work camps at Phoenix Settlement every single weekend with political science students from the University of Natal, people like Steve Biko, Chief Buthelezi, Alan Payton. Some of the most renowned leaders of South Africa used to attend the work camps that Mommy and Daddy had at Phoenix. But the important thing for her was building a community consciousness. And that's what she did at Phoenix. It was a truly amazing thing. She helped out at the school, and in her young days, she used to help her mom with the newspaper as well. The printing, the Indian Opinion was printed at Phoenix Settlement right until the late 50s.
So at the moment, this place is part of this tourism. You'll see all these leaflets over here. The Indian Opinion, the newspaper, the first newspaper that Gandhiji started, was started here.
Karamchand Gandhi was born on the 2nd of October 1869. He became one of our most respected and spiritual leaders. He stayed in South Africa for 21 years to fight for the rights of people. He thought that all people must do an honest day's work and take pride in their work. It was important to build a nation. He spent many days in jail and went on hunger strikes for his struggle for freedom. He was assassinated by a Hindu fanatic who thought that Gandhi was too tolerant for other religions and other people. He was shot dead on the 30th of January 1948. We were doing this theme, famous people, and we did this for English. And I know more about him, and I wanted other people to know more about him too. Because I'm born in the family and he's double great-granddaughter.
I'm a single parent and trying at this moment to pick up my life and find my own independence. And more important than that, I think for me, is I'm trying to ground myself emotionally, as well as financially and physically. And living with Mommy gives me the grounding I need, because I wake up and her strength inspires me to go on. She herself is a single parent, and through my own struggles, I have learned from her experience and the strength she has displayed in losing my brother, in losing a home. My mom's generation of women found it much more difficult to live in a society as a divorced mom. But the courage that my mom displayed to change her career, to change her entire community where she lived. She moved house, she moved town. That courage she displayed gives me strength. And I also feel that she is a very stabilizing influence with my children, which is why I really love being here with her.
आई, आपको जो समझना है ना, आप वो समझिए। और अब मैं इस बारे में कोई बहस नहीं करना चाहती हूँ।
Mum was not always at home, and being actively involved in politics. In those days, it was an Italo-Indian Congress, the UDF, and obviously the ANC as the broad underlying force. I think in our growing up years, we were not aware of it, because my grandmother stepped in beautifully and gave us a lot of attention and a lot of her time. But the stress, the tension of worrying when they were out, the tension of worrying when the police took them away, worrying when the police came, I think what was very striking about that growing up, and the things I remember the most, was the amount of strength Mummy had in teaching us things like you don't cry when the police arrive, and to be strong and know that whatever happens will happen for the best, and that if they lose their lives, they're sacrificing it for the country. And as a grown-up today, as a kid it was upsetting. You wanted that attention from your parents, you wanted that time from your mom. But when I think of it as a grown-up today, I think we've achieved our liberation from sacrifices like that. But more importantly, it's taught me the importance of having a bigger goal in life and the importance of sacrificing to achieve something. Today, we live in a society which is so individualistic. With the level of crime we live in and stuff, I think I try to put a lot more effort into allowing my kids to see that, to see the other side, that other people really do live in poverty, and the importance of compassion in our lives. But in terms of the values, I think the other important thing I like to bring into my kids is the importance of family and the importance of having that mutual understanding where you have some foundation that can always carry you through life. So yeah, more important than that would be God, which is the greatest foundation. It is a challenge in the society in which we live today because kids want proof of everything. I found that with my own two children, they constantly ask, what proof do you have that God exists? How do you know that it isn't some practical joke? On the other hand, I believe in faith. And I think in my own life and living with my mom through her life, my children are able to understand the meaning of faith and the meaning of doing things from a broader perspective, doing things in the name of God, and having a true love for God as we have for people. To me, Satyagraha means actually living a life where you fight for truth in a nonviolent manner. And truth being anything which is unjust. Once you identify something as unjust, the truth in that is what you're actually fighting for. The fact that everybody is entitled to human rights. It's living in a human rights developed culture. I think for my own work, I like to see Satyagraha in practice. It is a concept, it is a philosophy. At a period in time when Gandhi used it, it was a movement. It was a movement for change. The reason Satyagraha became so important was because he was fighting for freedom. It was a cause which was tangible. Today we are fighting against ourselves almost. When we look at the level of poverty that we have in our country at the moment, when you look at how difficult it is to move people from that, you realize we are fighting ourselves. And to bring a change from within is a different process. It is, however, Satyagraha, because that truth we refer to I like to think of as the God within us. I see God almost as another human being. Just as I see a person whom I love and I would like to keep a picture of them, I would like to do things for them, maybe perhaps buy gifts, cook food, do things as we do for the people whom we love. That whole act gives me satisfaction. I don't necessarily believe that if I don't do it, if I don't do a daily puja, or I don't do a visit to the temple, or I don't do a specific ritual in a day, that I will have bad luck or that I won't get what I need in life. But I do believe that just like how we express our love to people by doing a specific special thing which makes that person feel special. Om Bhurbhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya.
Well, Satyagraha, although its literal meaning is pursuit of truth, but it also embraces the whole idea of love. And when you love, you love nature as well as, people and everything, all God's creation. And here in the botanical gardens, you see nature, which, Satyagraha sort of teaches us to love. And when you love and you respect, you also preserve, you look after. And that is what botanical gardens and, Satyagraha is all about, to love, to preserve nature, to respect nature. It can be interpreted as soul force, where you're looking at the, force of God within you. It's also Satyagraha, which is defined by Martin Luther King. And he said that it is based on love and not on hatred. When you take violence, you are hating the other person and you want to use violence against another person out of hatred because you think that person has done some wrong to you. When you look at love, it means that I have love for all human beings. This person has gone off track and he has done something that is not good. But I have to bring him with love. I have to change him and bring him back on track. So the whole idea is different. It's not about killing a person, but it's about changing that person and bringing them back into the right road. So that is what Satyagraha is all about. Well, these are the offices of the Satyagraha and the Gandhi Development Trust, and it's based at the Durban University of Technology. What we are doing here is promoting Gandhian ideas of nonviolence and building a culture of nonviolence in this country. We all are influenced by other people, and Gandhiji similarly was influenced by Leo Tolstoy. You see here a picture of Leo Tolstoy. And then there was Parsi Rustamji, who was a businessman. But there were also other people, Thoreau, the philosopher, Ruskin, and so on. And he read all these philosophies and was influenced by them. After reading these philosophies, he made a visible change in his whole life, you know. And you can see that from his attire. When he came here, he was dressed like that with a tie, coat, you know. He liked to be smart and that. And when he left South Africa, he was a completely different person. You know, his attire, if you see there, I think it's in one of the photographs down on the side. This was when he came, and this was when he left. You can see the difference, simplicity. His transformation as a person happened in South Africa. The 20 years that he stayed here, he came here as a young man of 24 years of age. So he was just a very young person with different ideas, came here to make some money and that sort of thing. By the time he left South Africa, his ideas had changed. He had begun to think about humanity, to think about other people, to think about what was going on in the world, about the poor, the deprived, and the discriminated against, and so on. Because here in South Africa, he came in contact with the indentured workers. The indentured workers were almost like slaves. And he saw the plight of those people. And it made him think what human beings are doing to other human beings. And how can we revive humanity in our community. He was very religious, but he wasn't kind of fanatically clinging to any one faith. He read the Bible, he read the Quran, he read the Gita. He had a good knowledge of every religion, and including Buddhism and other religions as well, Zoroastrian religion. He had a good knowledge of them, and he felt that each religion had many good attributes, and they were just different paths to the same goal. These are his only possessions when Gandhiji passed away. His ashes did come to South Africa, but the Navy gave us a little vessel in which they brought us right to the edge of that harbor, and that's where we scattered the ashes. The significance of the ashes being immersed here is that his soul has come back to South Africa, and the people of South Africa now can claim him and feel close to him. I think he had a message for the world, which was very important. And I think that the more people that learn about it, the better our world will become.